For more than 200 years, Japan lived inside a closed world. Villages tilled rice, samurais collected stipends, merchants counted coins. Generations were born and died without ever seeing a foreign face. The outside world existed mostly as rumors, but in the 1800s, the outside world began swallowing nations. China was forced to open its ports. Foreigners started walking the streets, and Japan watched quietly and carefully. And then, in the summer of 1853, black ships appeared on the horizon, steam engine powered, iron hood, and brimmed with cannons. American warships. They did not come to sightsee, they came to deliver a message. Japan must open its harbors and accommodate the presence of the United States. The implications did not need to be spoken, refused, or force would be followed. Japan had no navy that could challenge them, no industry or modern army. For the first time in centuries, Japan's leaders confronted a terrifying realization. They were not prepared for the world that now existed, not the world they remembered, the world of empires. In 1854, Japan signed an agreement, and two ports were open, not yet for full commerce, but for provision, for foreign ships. A small crack, but a crack that has ways of spreading. Within few years, broader treaties followed, commercial access, fixed tariffs, foreign residents and courts. Foreigners increasingly were exempt from Japanese laws. What had begun as contact became legal inequality. Sovereignty was not seized in a single moment. It was diluted, clause by clause, signature by signature. Japanese officials began to speak openly of the nightmare. If we resist, we are destroyed. If we submit, we are humiliated. Neither option felt survivable. The crisis did not arrive in a strong nation. It arrived in a fragile one. Japan was still governed by feudal orders. Samurais at the top, farmers beneath them, and artisans and merchants. Taxes were paid on rice, power fragments among region lords. The system had once produced stability, but that stability was not an adaptability. By mid 1800s, peasants rioted over hunger, the samurai sank into debt, local government borrowed heavily. Japan possessed traditions, but it didn't possess factories or railroads. The industrial world was now ran on coal, iron, and machines. Japan still ran on agriculture and paperwork. The gap was not philosophical, but it was fatal. In 1868, the old order collapses, not through a mass uprising, not through a revolution, but through a calculated elite seizure of power. Young reformers dismantle the shogunate. They elevate the emperor, not as an absolute ruler, but as a sacred nation symbol, a unified center, a figure capable of binding the population to a new state. Behind this symbol, radical transformation began. Their guiding phrase enriched the country, strengthened the army. Everything else became negotiable. Custom, status, privileges, and survival was not. Modernization did not mean becoming a Western, it meant becoming untouchable. Feudal domains were abolished, taxation was centralized, a national bureaucracy was formed. Samurais lost hereditary stipends, many lost status, some rebelled, most faded quietly into a civilian life. A national conscripted army replaced by warrior inheritance. Farm boys became soldiers, peasants' sons learned to drill, and factories rose with government funding. Shipyards, textile mills, steel work, railroads sliced through the farmlands, telegraph wires followed the tracks. Schools appeared in villages that had never known a classroom. Children learned mathematics, science, and engineering. The government sent students abroad to analyze which nation built the best ships, which trained soldiers more effectively, which legal system functioned efficiently. Japan studied everyone. British naval designs, European army doctrines, continental legal codes, then assembled a hybrid system that served Japan. Modernization became a national emergency project. Beneath the policy papers lived a raw emotion: humiliation. Foreigners walking down the street of Japan beyond Japanese laws, tariffs that Japan couldn't control, ports governed by treaty. Every clause reinforces the message: you're not our equal. Industrialization became the morals. Steel meant dignity, battleship meant respect, artillery meant survival. Strength was the only language imperial powers appeared to understand, so Japan resolved it by implementing projects. The transformation worked. Factories multiplied, literacy expanded, railroads networked stretched across the island. Japan defeated China and Russia. An Asian nation had defeated a European empire. Proof in steel and blood. Modernization worked. Strength preserved sovereignty, but success created a new dependence. Factories consumed coal, ships burned oil, armies devoured resources. Japan possessed a limited natural reserves. Strategists began asking a new question: if imports are cut, what happens? If others control resources, how independent are we? The logic that once drove defensive modernization slowly bent outwards. If weakness invites dominations and strength ensures survival, then securing territory begins to feel like an insurance. The same survival logic expanded. Japan did not modernize because it loved Western culture. Japan modernized because it feared extinction. It watched its neighbors fall. It saw what happened to those who could not defend themselves. It chose transformation over submission. That choice saved Japan from colonization, but it also built a state that increasingly equated to security with power. And power with expansion, the Meiji Restoration was not a destiny. It was a pressure, it was a calculation, it was a fear, a reminder that systems built to save a nation can later become an instrument to destroy other nations.